So I know as soon as you mention, hey, these recruiting rankings are accurate, they're insanely accurate, there are going to be all sorts of comments that are going to come in. They're going to be cherry picking. This guy, shoot, he was a 5-star, he busted, and this guy was a 3-star, and he says, yes, we're talking about thousands of players, and we're talking about not rating whether they're coachable, what kind of coaching they're going to get, all those things, if they're going to be a good fit in terms of the scheme. We're just talking about talent assessment.
That's it, right? It's a snapshot at a point on the timeline. It's like, how good of a football player are they when they're a senior in high school and people are trying to get them, right? Injuries happen, personality, maybe personalities don't mesh. There's 100 reasons why a kid doesn't maximize, but recruiting rankers are designed to say, here's the most talented receiver in the country. He may be a lazy kid that doesn't work hard and he never maximizes, but coming out of high school, he was the most talented one.
And the other part of this, Zach, that I think is pretty fascinating, and to the credit of these guys evaluating high school players, is the NFL draft. For as much money and resources that goes into that, we could go through every NFL draft and be like, wow, he got drafted here. And there are all sorts of misses and all sorts of guys that got overlooked that obviously became stars later. Tom Brady being the classic all-time example, of course. But they're evaluating roughly 22-year-olds. Yeah. I got to think that have played top-notch competition. So you get that even playing field of, okay, this kid's played in the Big Ten for 3 years against good competition. You can assess it versus trying to rank and rate recruits starting when they're around 15, when their bodies haven't grown, and some of them have reached that growth spurt early and others later, and they're much different players 2 and 3 and 4 years later.
Yeah, and part of the art of recruiting is identifying, what is the kid right now? Like, what is his talent level? How good is he? Is he coachable? And then you have to evaluate the situation he's in, right? It could be a rough home life, maybe awful coaches, awful high school coaches, or great high school coaches. I mean, you take some kids, you go to St. Thomas Aquinas down in South Florida, and you take a kid out of there, that kid's pretty much maximized as a player because there's such good coaches, such a good program. Where you go to a school down the street in South Florida, and that kid, he might have the highest ceiling in the country, but he's just not been coached or developed, right? So you have to evaluate that situation and then kind of project, if that kid comes to Ohio State and has the structure and the program we have, how's he going to react? And will he just, exponentially blow up as a player? Because I saw several examples of that happen in my career too. So it's a little more inexact, like you said, because one, they're younger, two, the situations are vastly different. If you draft a kid from Bowling Green, he still went through pretty good coaching and a good program. It's not that different from Ohio State, right? Just the structure around them. So I think you have less margin for error in the NFL. At least you should. But like you said, the draft results sometimes tell a different story.